Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and once again, we take a peek at my spinner rack, stuff I randomly grabbed. Marvel 2-in-1 was probably one of my top 5 comics of the 70s, because The Thing is one of the greatest comic book characters ever. It almost uniquely designed for comics, which is why the movies screw him up so much. What's odd is the short, small budgeted Roger Corman film in 1994 was probably the truest when it came to depicting the Thing, but after that, I don't know, it was either a rubber suit or a bunch of rocks knitted together, and boing and stuff like that. Well, we got us Mark Gruenwald and Ralph Macchio, who they co-wrote this 6-issue run, and they also did some other stuff together, which is great. I mean, I'd like to see Ralph Macchio write more stuff, and I really miss Mark Gruenwald. Anything he's touched, I've loved. I mean, his Captain America for 10 years was just out of this world, and that's why they keep reprinting it. So, playing poker, I love that, because Ben does that a lot in his later episodes. So you got John Byrne and Joe Sinnott, and can it not be great with that? I mean, you got Joe Sinnott, is it not going to be great? And here comes Black Goliath, who I showed in the previous episode, but he is now Giant Man. He got a new costume, and I ain't that keen on this one either. I like the big belt. I like from bottom down, but I don't know, the straps across the chest seem kind of odd. But something new. Yeah, that's his old costume with the bare midriff. Ben says, why don't you call yourself Giant Man? Because he says, if I remember my Sunday school lessons, Goliath was a bad guy. He's like, okay. I think they needed to keep the name going. There's a lot of stuff like that that goes on. Like Marvel Boy had a reprint in the middle of the Captain America's reprint run of Marvel Super Action. So meanwhile, the subplot of Thundra. Come on, is that better? Okay, there. Thundra, who'd been around for a while. There's a subplot. Remember subplots? Yeah, thank you. She gets this wrestling. It's almost like unlimited class wrestling, but it's not called that. The term wouldn't be coined until I think Mike Carlin wrote the last year of The Thing. So, new clothes, radioactive. So Ben wraps his fist with Giant Man's fist with lead. So to go after new clothes, such a great character. He was conceived by Roy Thomas, and he was visually created by Rich Buckler. So beautiful stuff. So he's just going at it. It was kind of nice to see Giant Man get his glory there. So anyway, it's really, really good. Highly recommended. Now, Hawk and Dove. I didn't have this book growing up, but my pal Chuck Dixon, he sent me a care package of comics. He's like me. He's like, am I really around to reading these again? But this was created by Steve Ditko, as was the Creeper. About the same time, DC was being very experimental, thanks to Carmen Infantino's. He became the publisher. So anyway, he did 3 issues, and then he couldn't finish because a lot of people say, oh, Ditko was temperamental. He had a fit because they changed the panel. No. It's actually Ditko caught tuberculosis for the second time in his life, and he was very ill. So he was tapped out of comics for a year or two, and unfortunately, but this didn't last long. But man, it should have. You say that about anything you like. But beautiful art by Gil Kane. And it's so nuanced. Yep, written and illustrated by Gil Kane. How about that? That's a killer angle. And you know what? I love the inking in here. But later on, in the 80s when he went over back to DC, he started inking himself with a Sharpie, I think it was. And I'm not being a smart ass. It was definitely a marker. But you know what? He got real ham-fisted. I didn't like his own inking at that time. Now this is perfect. This almost looks like Wally Wood inks, but because when he did the '80s stuff, it was very the line weight was pretty. It was pretty much the same. You know, it wasn't a whole lot of subtlety to it. And another reason I hated him inking himself is because I couldn't. Selfish me says that. Just be truthful. Classic Gil Kane, like somebody on the ground panel, foreshortening. So good stuff. This is really, really good. So, and then we go to the short-lived Atlas comics, which lasted 4 or 5 months tops. It was, a lot of people don't know, but Chip Goodwin, who was the son of Marvel Goodwin, he got passed over as publisher for Marvel, and Stan Lee ended up the publisher around 72, 73. So Atlas Comics was, the term is out of spite. Goodman was going to do his own book and beat Marvel with their own game. What's funny is they had the trade dress and the covers. It looked so much like Marvel. They were really, you know, they were trying to take, you know, take a piece of that Marvel pie. And what's funny though is, well, the cover, I think it might be Larry Lieber. He did a lot of cool stuff. He was the publisher of this, and he was Stan Lee's, I can't remember if he's an older or younger brother. And I don't know, you don't see, hold on a second. Hold on. You don't see any interviews with him. He's kind of lays low, and he does the Spider-Man comic strip, and he always was a pretty good artist. You know, he did a couple of Amazing Spider-Man annuals in the late '60s that were excellent. So it really helps us out. Okay, you got Mike Sekowsky, inked by Al McWilliams, who I never really knew a lot about him, but wow, I mean, he could ink anybody and make it look great. He's so, his faces just have so much volume to them. It's so funny because it's like every movie ever since Death Wish and the Clint Eastwood movies, where the chief would be like, "Oh, you're out of control, Lomax, what? Well, for God's sake, stop him." And then he says other stuff later on that is anti-Lomax. That's a great female face. Great figures. Love the jacket. Really sweet. I enjoyed it. So now we go over to Mike Plug and Frank Springer, which is a very interesting combination. Frankly, they are completely at cross purposes. They have completely different styles. Mike Plug is more soft and roundish in a really amazing way, and Frank Springer is also amazing, but he's scritchy scratchy, and so it's an odd combo, but I kind of dig it. You know, it just strikes me really odd because you're sort of getting this weird combo. How about that? You're getting this weird combo together. I would never thought to marry the two artists there, but it looks good there. It's just right up there with one of the strangest collaborations art-wise. Like right there, you can tell it's Plug, but as I said, it's kind of feathered over more than Plug would. Good stuff. You get all the Atlas books really cheap if you see them in the store or if you see them online. ManWolf. What was great in the 70s, back when I was a geezer, which I still am. Back when I was a brat. Now I'm a geezer. With Marvel Premiere and a lot of other books, you had no idea what was coming up because you didn't have the direct market, you didn't have previews, and also, frankly, they may not have done it much because they did it in the magazine Foom, which was the in-house, organ to kind of promote their comics and stuff. You might see it in the previews, but a lot of it was subjective, so I didn't know this was coming out. I was like, good Lord. I never liked ManWolf. I kind of passed on that, but holy crap. It's George Perez and Frank Giacoia, and written by David Kraft, also known as David Anthony Kraft, who is stuff I really enjoy. But I'm like, oh my God, Perez just showed up out of the blue. So I got the trade paperback of the ManWolf series that was collected. Collected this and all the previous Creatures on the Loose or something like that. And it also reprinted a Spider-Man annual, which or She-Hulk or something. Yeah, it was a She-Hulk issue or two where he gets cured of being a werewolf. He gets he gets his own brain back. He's on a set. John Jameson, son of J.J. Jameson, J.J. He was a werewolf, but this time he actually has his own, he can think. He has the same personality and the same mindset as his regular condition. So I'm going to say something. Oh, anyway, this ended with like a really shitty issue or two of She-Hulk that was just hacked out. So it wasn't. Oh, and then there we are. There we are. As the young ones would say, baby, this is my jam. So yeah, I sound really down and hip with the youth, huh? So boy, that's great. Yeah, they had one more issue, and then, like I said, eventually he got cured. So now we go to Marvel Spectacular, and as I mentioned before, when I learned how to focus a camera, oh come on, man. Okay, I really disliked Thor, the regular series at the time, because it was very heavy and very. There was action here and there, but there was a lot of how can I put it? Like pomposity and grand stuff, and I mean, they were decent stories, but they just they weren't very exciting. It was just a lot of I don't know. I guess the various writers decided that Thor needed to be different from the other comic characters because he's a Norse god, and thus they kind of just made it all pomp and circumstance. And however, this reprint from the Lee Kirby years is great. I couldn't resist it. I did buy it because it said the combined powers of Fantastic Four. I didn't know what a Skrull was, but I was soon to meet the Super Skrull. And I love this issue. This guy's like saying, let's have a race. So Thor totally screws with him. Whoosh. I love that. The reprinting is really bad. A lot of it has to do with, Vin's very thin, tight inks. Thin, I wouldn't say tight inks, I'm exaggerating. He does a lot of wispy lines. There, the Super Skrull, I bid you go after Thor. I think that's how he sounded like in the old cartoons. And Dr. Don Blake, for one panel, he's a doctor, and then he goes back to being Thor, which is great because Dr. Don Blake was such a bore. When Simonson got rid of him, I was incredibly happy. There we go. Wow. Man, Kirby was just so cinematic. It's just stunning. Wow. And the rain's pretty cool there too. I mean, Coletta could come through in a clutch. It's just there were a lot of times he simplified a lot of buildings in the background, and that's it. When I saw comparisons, I was kind of heartbroken. He takes him out. And he sends him away. Now, the only thing is, like in a lot of comics, he could probably do that all the time. It's like maybe one of the few times he's actually used that power. And granted, you wouldn't have really a fight if he just did that all the time, but sort of convenient. This was Ragnarok, reprint from another issue of Thor. And it's that really impressed me. I didn't know much about, the lore and stuff, Surtur. Cool. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and take it easy. Bye.